the cars, the coast, the company. What an amazing experience. I feel like I reached the peak of my existence on this day. Absolutely brilliant. If you are contemplating it, you have to book the Cobra experience in Cape Town. Just driving along the coastline of the continent, you feel like with the engine, you're just in the timeline of a different era, the roaring. And I'm not even a car girly. I do not even care about cars at all, but I sure do now, and I definitely want one of these. Absolutely adore and love. It was amazing. I just feel like all senses were going wild. What you could see visually, the smell and being next to the ocean, the sounds. Honestly, it was all just an incredible experience and definitely worth every second. So let me talk you through what we did on the day and how we organised it and everything, and also what routes we did, because there are so many options of where to go and so on. So we woke up that day, we had breakfast in our hotel. We were staying in the V&A waterfront, which took us about 20 minutes to get to the Cobra experience offices, and we actually went relatively late compared to most people. When we had got there, all the other cars were practically out, all the cars that were operational anyway, but we went a bit later, which we knew we never had the whole day. I had messaged them in advance, but I had not booked in advance because my husband is very tall, he's 6'8", and he wouldn't normally fit into a car like this. So we wanted to try it out. So the lady said, rather than booking, come and try it out first if you have a chance and if there is a car. Luckily, we're not in peak season in Cape Town, so there was actually a couple of cars left that they said we could try out. And it was third time lucky. We tried the yellow one and then this brand new burgundy one. And then the gentleman who was sort of organising all of the cars remembered there was a green one just a couple of streets away, and he went and collected it for us, and that one fit. Not going to say it fit perfectly. He was still a little bit crushed, but it worked and he managed to drive in it. If we were to ever buy one of these, he definitely would need to get a modified one anyhow. So once we had agreed that, we then sorted out all of the paperwork, and we just needed like driving license, passport, and you had to pay a deposit. You complete all the forms online and everything seems to be systematized and pretty smooth. And to be honest, the staff was so lovely and so helpful. So it was a really nice experience getting started. There's different types of packages that you can take and people come at different times. I think normally it's for about 8 hours. We actually didn't need it for that long because we had dinner booked and we had work earlier in the day, so we only had it for a set amount of time. But for us, it was absolutely fine. But if you do want it for longer, normally you get it for longer and you can drive much further than we did. But again, if you don't have as much time, I wouldn't say don't go because you can't go too far. Go for it. So basically, when you get to the office, they have all these QR codes and you can select different routes that you want to take, because I was a bit worried about that. As I said, I'm not a car girl, don't like driving, and I was a bit scared of having to be the navigator, etc. So I was really happy for these QR codes. And what you can do, which is what we did, is you put in the route that you ideally want to take, which I wanted to do Chapmans Peak, and then let's say it has 8 stop-offs throughout the route. You then can delete the ones you don't want to include. So that's what we did. I also wanted to stop somewhere where we could get like a nice lunch. I would have a little bit of wine and just somewhere to take in some of the scenes rather than just drive. So we planned the route around there. They give you a tour instructional type of session before you leave, and they run you through anything you should be cautious of, all the do's and don'ts, and also they give you a walkie-talkie, which I thought was pretty cool because there are some areas you may go into that don't have service, so you can still always connect back to the office or the emergency number if you face any issues, which I think is pretty amazing. The other thing that they have on offer is to give you a GoPro. They very kindly gave us a GoPro for our journey, which I actually forgot to use, but I mean, I've seen people capture the most beautiful footage on there, so would highly recommend you do add that in when you book your package, because if there's one thing I will say, you will never get footage like this. It is delightful, and just if you can be professional and use these kind of equipment, then go for it, because honestly it's outstanding, and looking back on it, I love it. I also love hearing the engine. It's brilliant. So get the camera equipment if you can. So we headed off from the office and we went. Obviously the routes they plan are very scenic. So the first part of the drive was sort of through this residential area where you see the most sublime houses, and then the road goes uphill and then takes you downhill into Camps Bay. So we've been to Camps Bay many times, so we actually stop in Camps Bay, but of course driving through Camps Bay was a delight. Then the next stop off we had on our map was to go through along Chapmans Peak. Oh my god, honestly it was absolutely breathtaking. Like, if I'm being honest, when I initially wanted to book this, my husband was a bit like okay. He wasn't like, definitely, let's do it. But I think when we reached there, his mind was blown and he'd really got into the experience of driving, and it was just the pinnacle of absolute joy. It was so amazing to go through that coastline. Honestly, I can see why they say it's one of the most beautiful drives in the world. It was absolutely stunning. And there's just something so nice about experiencing Cape Town in this car, because you're moving through at speed, you're very low to the ground, and you've got the engine, but then you're sort of experiencing all of this outside phenomena that you can see and you can walk through, but at speed, it's so great. So after we got through Chapmans Peak, we went to Cape Point Vineyards, which was so the views there, also a different type of view, may I add. So you're not just experiencing the one view. This was now more of a lake with the mountains, and this is a vineyard, and they also have a restaurant and a wine tasting. But on this day, which we didn't know in advance, they have a market with lots of different food vendors. So it was really busy and it was very nice, and you can sit down on the grass or in the restaurant area and you can all eat different types of cuisine. So I think somebody had said to me that's on the Thursday of every Thursday. I'm not sure, you'll have to double check that. But in any case, if it's not on, I would still highly recommend stopping off at Cape Point Vineyards. You can also book a picnic there, which I thought would absolutely be beautiful. I'm trying to think how long we've been driving. I think probably in total we've done like an hour's drive by now, and then we stopped at the vineyards for maybe another hour and a bit, and we had something to eat there, and we got speaking to some local people. Really nice to learn a bit more history about the area and so on. So it was amazing, and then we headed back into our car. Now, you cannot drive back down, let's say down Chapmans Peak on the sort of outside lane, because the car is now considered a car that's too wide and it's dangerous. So the route that we went was via the forest, which again was still absolutely stunning. So we drove through Constantia, and it was absolutely phenomenal. So there are lots of other routes that you can take if you have a longer period of time. Like I think next time I'd like to go to Boulders Bay, which I have been to, but to take the car down there would be gorgeous. And as I said, they give you lots of options to suit the timeline and the desires that you have. So then we headed back to the office and we headed back through sort of the city-ish area. I don't know, we call it a motorway, but I'm not sure if it's exactly a motorway. And that was fun. I mean, people are still really mesmerised by the car, actually. I was thinking, because obviously it's a popular experience in Cape Town, no one will be fazed by the Cobra, but they were. And it was just fun. We were revving the engine. I loved it. As I said, I don't really like cars, but I definitely like this one. Anyhow, we headed back to the office. You have to fill up petrol before you get back, but conveniently just on the corner of where the office is, there's a petrol station, and apparently they're very used to the Cobras coming in, so they fill up the tank for you and you just be on your merry way back to the office. So 10 out of 10 experience. Definitely a phenomenal sort of memory locked in for my husband and I. I can't wait for other people I know to do it so I can talk about it all day long. I hope you get to do it. Enjoy.